What is up? What is up? And welcome to the Rookie Reset. Now, you may be wondering, you say, what the heck is a Rookie Reset? Well, it would be an evening just like this, except I would be stressed the hell out because I could not manage my classroom. And quite frankly, I could not figure out this whole teaching thing. So what we do here on the Rookie Reset is to hopefully provide you with practical tools, tips, and strategies to help you stay in the game, because oftentimes new teachers quit too soon because they are not getting the support that they need. And so that's what we hope to do here on the Rookie Reset, to provide you with things that you could have did yesterday to make your job just a little bit easier. So who am I? My name is Andrea Fitzgerald. I'm an author, a speaker, an educator, and also a person, like I said, who's really committed to helping new teachers, because all new teachers they just need tools and support to help them stay in the game. Because when you don't have tools, we all know, it's like trying to put something up on the wall. You don't have a hammer. It's not going to work out too well. So that's what we hope to do here on the Rookie Reset. So today, friends, we are going to talk about teaching is a 4-quarter game. Yes, teaching is a 4-quarter game. And so as I was thinking about this, I was reflecting on my time as a new teacher, and I just remember how every part of the year, it was a little bit different. It required a different way in which I was required to kind of show up. And so as I thought about this idea, I thought about my time as a basketball player many, many eons ago. But I remember we would have these games. We have pregame. We have to do all this stuff. We'd have our walkthroughs, or we would have a pregame meal. We'd run through the sets of the other team. And then the first quarter, it was all about setting the tone. So you wanted to come in the game strong, and you wanted to make your presence known when you first walked in. And then the second quarter was more about maintenance. So maybe we got a lead, or maybe we're behind, but if you're behind, you don't want your lead to be so bad that when you get to the second half, you playing catch up. So second quarter is really just about maintenance. Either I want to keep my lead or I want to get it to a manageable place. And then you'd have halftime, you go in there, you talk to your coach, and they give you some feedback, you make some adjustments, and you prepare for the second half of the game. And so you go into the third quarter of the game, and this was again about setting the tone yet again, because my coach used to often say, the person who scores first, most times they win the game. And so you wanted to be the first person to score that bucket. You want your team to score first so that you could put yourself at an advantage. And then the last quarter was all about closing strong. You wanted to make sure that if you were winning, you wanted to set the tone yet almost again, but you wanted to, wherever we are, I want us to finish this game strong so that we can actually win the game. And so you're like, oh my gosh, Fitz, I am not an athlete. What does this have to do with me? Who cares? Well, teaching is a lot like that. Very similar. Because the pregame, when I was talking about we doing the walkthroughs and we getting our pregame meal, that is probably one of the most important parts for you as a new teacher. So if you're entering becoming a teacher this next year in the fall, this time is imperative for you, because you want to start preparing for that very first day of school. I think this was a miss for me as a new teacher. I didn't understand what was at stake. I didn't know. So my pregame, it was no pregame. And then I came in the middle of the year. So my pregame was like, I walked in the door and baby, I was teaching. So pregame is all about you getting ready for that very first day of school. That is probably one of the most important days of the year. The very first day of school, you set the tone initially. Okay. So that is what you want to think about with that first quarter. Now, pregame. So that's just preparing for the very first day of school, thinking about your systems, your structures, all those things. How do you want to build relationships? And so then you have quarter one. And this one is so important, because this is about you setting the tone of your classroom. Like, I have gone in classes and well, not even going to classes, hell, my class. But yeah, I didn't set the tone. And that thing went off the tracks. So in the first quarter, you want to think about in terms of setting the tone, you want to create conditions where learning can take place. And so I like to think of it as the 3 C's. Credibility. So this is you knowing your stuff. This is you being prepared. You want to have connection. So you want to get to know your students. And then the last one is consistency. And so consistency, you want to think about, yes, I set a high bar of expectations every single day, but also being who you say you are, because consistency builds trust. I often use the analogy of Chick-fil-A and McDonald's. McDonald's, baby, I've been waiting on my milkshake for 35 years. I still ain't got my milkshake. I don't know. Maybe you got one recently. I didn't get one. But yes, that's how consistent they are. Like, I don't even ask for the milkshake anymore. And then, Chick-fil-A, conversely, Chick-fil-A, they so consistent. Every time you ask for something from them, you say, I need five hot sauces and 5 honey mustards for my little 2 nuggets. They're going to say, my pleasure. And you trust them so much, you don't even ask anymore. You like, I know my order going to be right. And so it's the same thing with our classroom. We want to be consistent because we build trust. Because when we're not consistent, and I don't say this to judge, I was this teacher, y'all. Like, listen, I'm telling you, I was so inconsistent. But when we're consistent, we build the trust, and they know this is what I expect when I come to Miss So-and-so's class. When I come to Mr. So-and-so, Mr. So, they already know what to expect. Because if we're not consistent, what can happen is we'd be like the McDonald's milkshake machine. And just like I don't ask for the milkshake anymore, the students they'll stop going hard in there. And so it's very challenging if they're not bought into what you're selling to get them going and doing the teaching that you want to do, right? So consider the first quarter is one of the most important parts of the year. This is where you are setting the tone and conditions for your class. So that's quarter one. Quarter two, the headline I would say for that, just like in that basketball game, is about maintenance. So you want to continue working those systems, continue being reflective, making adjustments as needed, okay? Because you don't want your classroom to get so off track that it's hard to get it back. Now, you can always get it back. It's never impossible, but you don't want it to be so far off track that it is very challenging to get it back in. I definitely learned that lesson. It was off the chain. And here I come in trying to be like, oh, now that I have been inconsistent and it's all over the place, now I'm trying to come in hard. And so I would say with this one, you can always lighten up, but you want to come in tight and then lighten up as you go versus like coming in light and then try to tighten up. It makes it a little bit more challenging. It's not impossible. It's never impossible, but it definitely makes it a little more challenging. So those systems and structures that you're thinking about in that quarter one, I like to think of like 3 non-negotiables, like 3 things that you want to hold to. Stay tight with those for the remainder of the quarter. Even if everything else is going to crap, you can stay with those 3 things. Like I often talk about my entry routine. Everything else was a little chaotic, but I said, okay, when they come in, they're going to do this, they're going to do this, they're going to do this. So this is all about I almost like to think of it like surviving and just maintaining what you already have. So, and then the second half so you have halftime, right? Like most times this is your semester break and you want to give yourself time to just relax and take a break. I wouldn't spend too much time into the work, but you definitely maybe even a few days right before the semester is closing, really start thinking about what worked and what didn't for that first half of the year. Now, I have a video I can share with you about how to reset your class after the break. I can share that with you, but that's a great way to come in strong. And I have some different ways that you can do that, like reviewing policies and procedures, establishing yourself again, some of those things. So feel free, I'll drop that link below when we wrap up this live. But if you're like, how do I do that after halftime? I got something for you. All right, so then we move into quarter three. And this is all about, again, we are setting the tone again. We coming in like it's the first day of school. So just like I was talking about in that basketball game, the first person to score is usually the person who wins the game. You want to be the first person to score. Not that y'all competing, but you want to set that tone again, because this is about making adjustments, right? So for instance, I don't know if you've been watching the NBA playoffs, but that's the name of the game. It's all about adjustments. The team that usually wins is the coach makes solid adjustments based on, like, so for instance, here's an adjustment I made. My first year, I didn't have any assigned seats, and they would come in and it would take me 12 minutes to even start class because my students they're going to talk over here, but I didn't have a place for them to go. So, and then my calculators, Lord, I probably lost so many, but the second semester I came in, I numbered my desk and I assigned my student seats. And that made my job a little bit easier. And that was an adjustment that I made. So I talk a lot more about specifically how to reset your class, like I said in that video, and I'm gonna drop that below, but definitely check that out on how to reset your class. And also, even if you're coming in as a second year teacher, a third year teacher, you can actually utilize this strategy to to come in stronger than you did before, because this is all about adjustments and getting and resetting your class, setting the tone. This is how we roll in this quarter. And I think something else that you want to think about in terms of that third quarter is, I would often tell my students, hey, we're raising the bar here. We're taking it to another level. This is what we're shooting for at the end of the year. So just reminding students of those outcomes of what it is that you want to accomplish for this year. And then the last quarter is quarter four, and this is all about closing strong. So most times this part of the year, there's some form of state testing. I know for me, I often felt an intense sense of pressure during this time because hey, they measured my effectiveness on these results. So I would tell my students that, just like I said in quarter three, hey, we're raising the bar. Just like they say that some of the best players are those that show up in the fourth quarter, that's the same thing I expect of you, because I know how brilliant, I know how smart you are. These are, like, I'm raising the bar in my expectation because I've been with you for a year. And so they say the great players made the fourth quarter. I believe you are one of them. And so that's what I would tell my students. And they would just kind of get them kind of amped up and excited about, oh my gosh, yes, I can do this. Because I think one of the biggest things that I believe, it was about teaching math, but it's really about building their confidence and self-efficacy. And so that's what I wanted to do. And then the last thing also was like wrapping up those key concepts. So now, so we know the state test is maybe around the corner, or you're thinking about, like, when we think about focus in terms of math or that grade level content, what are those things that my students have to walk away with from this year? Like if I was teaching Algebra 1, I was like, okay, one thing I need to make sure y'all know, we got to know quadratics. We got to know all of this. So maybe I come in and just make sure those key concepts, my students are really strong in those. And then, a lot of times in quarter four, this is when we're closing out the year. And then really just about partly reflection, right? So, they have the end of year programs and stuff like that. So that's also a part of it. And then the other part, this is just a bonus part, a bonus quarter, is off season. And so that's when the school year is over. What should I be doing? The first one is resting. that I think is the most important, because as I talked about last week, as a teacher, you are giving of yourself every single day. Like, you've chosen a career to inspire and transform the minds of kids. And that is not easy. Like I was saying last week, it takes a lot to teach. Like, it is not about my little math problems. It is not about our little math problems. More than a lot of times, it's about, I lost my train of thought, y'all. But it's really, really like the other stuff, motivating people, inspiring them, coming up with structures and systems, creating conditions where people can learn. Sometimes it could be triggering for you as a human being. Like, it's self-awareness. It's a lot of things that go into teaching that we often don't talk about. And So the first thing you want to do is rest, relax, and reset. And the other thing is start preparing for the next year. So give yourself time to relax. Also, I would add being reflective. So what kind of helped me decide where I needed to grow was just thinking about, okay, what worked this year, what didn't, what adjustments am I going to make? And I have a resource I can share with you too. It's free. How to great, I call it great players are made in the off season. And so that's something that I've taken from me as an athlete and also as a teacher. That one of the things that I used to do as a basketball player was if for instance, like I think my first year I couldn't shoot. I couldn't shoot. I mean, how you play in Division One, you short end, you can't shoot. But yeah, I could shoot. So the coach told me, he said, you better learn to shoot or you're going to be sitting on the pine. So I taught myself how to shoot that summer. And then the next summer it was like, okay, your left hand, I need you to be able to finish with your left. I worked on that. The next year it was rebounding, or it was my mid-range jumper or my threes or whatever. Like it's every year I added something to my game. And so you almost want to think about the same thing for yourself as a new teacher or as a teacher in general, because you want to continue to add tools to your toolkit, but also add things to your game. This worked, this didn't. You know, I realized my first day of school, it had to be super strong. That day had to be strong because it was off the chain. It was completely off the chain. And so two things you want to think about that off season: rest and preparing for the next year. And so you have professional learning, you have coaches you can work with, books, different things that you want to continue to grow in. Like that's the season I'm in right now. So things are slowing down a bit and I want to grow. I want to grow in some different things for myself. Like I'm attending a workshop tomorrow. I got to give her a shout out, Christy Allison, Math Improvement Mistakes. You better check that out. That thing gonna be fire. But like I'm attending that tomorrow because I want to continue to grow my tools in my toolkit and get better at certain things. And so that's what I'm doing this off season. So if you want to do some off season work, we got some things coming up over here. I'll be here every Tuesday, 5:45, to share some different tools and strategy. And we got some stuff coming up in July. So definitely want to do some off-season work. Let's do it. So just to recap, y'all, Q1 is all about setting the tone, coming in strong, credibility, consistency, connection. That's the focus there. Q2 is about maintaining or improving the tone. Is it if the tone is strong, you want to maintain that, continue doing that. But you also, if it is off track, then this is all about making adjustments and putting yourself in a position where you can recover the third quarter. So it's okay if it's off the chain Q2. You can just you like, I'm going to focus in on these 3 things and that's it, and that's okay. And then you have Q3. This is all about making adjustments, possibly resetting your class, and even using that time in between Q2 and 3, aka halftime, for you to kind of be reflective, but also again take a break. Teaching can be taxing at times. And then Q4 is all about closing strong. So we know state testing is usually around this time, so raising the bar and the expectations of your students. And then off season is about rest, being reflective, and preparing for the next year. And if you want to do some off-season work, we'll be here every Tuesday. So share this video with a new teacher if you think it'll add some value. So thank you all so much for tuning in. I appreciate you. And if you're like, you know what, Fitz, my class is off chain, I want to make sure it's strong, go to bit.ly/reset your class. Yes, you can go there. Or if you like, you know what, Fitz, let me get a copy of the Rookies Playbook. I'm gonna drop that link below. Right now it is $6.86 on Amazon. So if you like, I just need me a little cheat book just to give me some practical stuff, go ahead and check it out. So I thank y'all so much for tuning in. For all my new teachers, get out there this week and do those reset push-ups, because guess what, y'all? I believe in you. You got this. And I'm out.